Thank you very much, sir, for accepting our invitation. Yeah, so I'll introduce the speaker of this session. I'm indeed pleased and privileged to introduce Dr. Ajit Kumar Mishra, who will be delivering a talk on elements of research writing. Ajit Kumar Mishra holds a doctorate degree in African American Studies from Banaras Hindu University. He is currently working as an associate professor in the Department of Humanistic Studies at Indian Institute of Technology, BHU, Varanasi. His research interests include narrative studies, visual culture, research communication, and humanistic communication. He has been an institutional and corporate trainer in the areas of research communication, management communication, and health communication. He finds it thoroughly enjoyable when he is interacting and learning from the multitude. He has conducted score of technical sessions on research writing, pedagogical strategies, and research communication in FDPs, STCs, and workshops. Thank you very much, sir, for accepting our invitation. And sir's talk is going to be crucial for the workshop, as he is going to talk about elements of our research writing. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much for those kind words, Professor Dwivedi. Hello, everybody on board. So I really thank IIT Tirupati for two things, for coming up with such an idea, because it's a vital importance. That's one. And the second is for giving me this opportunity to meet and interact with such a nice gathering out there. So had it been in the face-to-face mode, things would have been far more better than how it is today. But then we'll still make it a meaningful session. And in order to do so, I am looking forward to your participation, active ones, in fact, so that we can take a few important things further together. So thank you very much, everyone out there. So before I start, I'll check with the organizers for a few things. So Professor Dwivedi, please let me know if you can the group profile. So is a group composed of only faculty members?
Yeah, we have diverse audience set, people from different backgrounds. We have people from medical background, engineering, social sciences, humanities, agriculture, commerce, management. So really heterogeneous audience.
Okay, are they all faculty members? So some of them are also...
Yeah, most of them are faculty members. Some of them are scholars.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, that's pursuing PhD.
Yeah, fine. There's something else that I wanted to convey to everyone out there. That we do not have complete control over these digital platforms. So if unfortunately I lose connection with you, so please be there. I'll join back in a few moments. Okay, so fine. Thank you very much, Professor Dwivedi. And hello, everyone. Please let me know. I'd like to hear from the participants whether my voice is going through properly. I mean, the video is not very important. The audio is very important. Please confirm.
Yes, sir. It is clear, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And so, well, this is the fourth day of this program, I think.
Yes, sir.
This is fourth day. That means most of the participants must have become familiar with a lot of things by now. And there is something else that I also wanted to check with Professor Dwivedi. It's a 2-hour session.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what is the plan? What is the structure of the session? Am I going to speak for 90 minutes and then we can go for a discussion one?
It's up to you, sir.
Is that
in
the structure?
Whatever manner, yeah. This is the structure. Yeah.
Okay.
So in whatever manner you want to conduct this session, it's up to you.
Right. Thank you. So by now, all the participants must have come across a lot of nuances related to research, writing, and publication. So today I'm going to walk you through a few other very interesting nuances that we actually require when it comes to research writing and publishing. Okay, because these two things happen to be the most scariest of things, because it's always a good idea and an easier thing to take care of the preliminary elements leading to the reporting of your research findings to journals or to any publisher. So what are those things that we can take care of in order to make this process easier are exactly what I'm going to take up with you all today. I'm also looking forward to your participation, active participation. I'll be giving a few demonstrations of how things work, and I'll also be showing you a few digital skills that we as researchers need in order to make this process a little smoother and easier. So please allow me a few seconds to share my screen with you so that we can start. Yes, please confirm when my screen becomes
Yeah, it's visible, sir.
Okay, thank you. So I have been talking about building blocks of research writing. Building blocks, because with these blocks, we're actually going to construct and erect that building. So in order for the building to be strong enough and to sustain itself all through, it's important that we take care of these building blocks. And in fact, together they constitute the very idea or the very structure of a research paper or research articles. So most often we get to see the finished product in our hands. In this case, the research article or the research paper or any book for that matter. That's it's a final product. So it looks wonderfully attractive because it has passed through several stages. And most often we tend to ignore the possible stages through which that particular product might have passed through. And that's exactly where we miss some important links. So therefore, the first thing that we can do and we need to do is to adopt a micro level approach. That means we need to move towards the roots of that particular product. So this micro level approach is going to help us with a better insight and understanding of the process. So how that begins, for example, when you take a research article in your hand, what exactly are the things that you come across? For example, these are the things. All research articles are divided into multiple sections, multiple segments. Before I talk about it any further, let me check with you whether you are familiar with the universal structure of research articles or not. Are you familiar with the universal structure of research articles?
No, sir.
Yes, some responses from the participants.
Yeah, sir, we are aware of generic structure. However, it differs from journal to journal, but generic structure, as you have mentioned, comprises of abstract, introduction, methodology, conclusion,
Right.
References, etc.
Okay, so you all are familiar with that. There's something that is called IMRAD. Are you familiar with that? The structure?
Are you referring to introduction methodology, sir?
Yeah. I'm talking about that only. So it is called IMRAD. So this is the generic structure of all research articles, irrespective of the disciplines they belong to or they, aligned with. So that is the basic structure of all research articles: introduction, methodology, results, and discussion. And is a structure one, therefore it is not capitalized here. So this model is otherwise called the hourglass model. The hourglass model, because it resembles the hourglass. Towards the end of today's session, I'm going to show you a glimpse of that so that you get to know what an hourglass model is all about. Are you familiar with the hourglass model?
No, sir.
Okay, I'll be showing you. So that will make your task a little easier, because once you get to see a visual of something, the understanding level suddenly goes up. So I'll be showing you a visual of the hourglass model. So that's towards the end of, because that's not a part of this session, but I'll still be talking about that. Right. So whenever we take a research article in our hand, we generally find different sections. Most often these sections carry a heading, and there are occasions when these sections do not carry any such headings, especially when it comes to writings in literary studies or research articles in literary studies. They generally avoid heading or naming the sections. But these days, people have started doing that. There is nothing wrong in naming the sections. So we can have introduction, methodology, or discussion. And discussion can further be divided into conclusion and future directions, limitations of this research. But that's the basic structure, as I just told you all. That is the introduction. It can further be divided into various other parts. And then the methodology, it can still be divided into various other parts. Then you come to the results and discussion. So this is how a research article is divided into. And then we go to the next segment. What we get to see? We get to see several paragraphs. For example, each of these sections are further divided, are further composed of several paragraphs. It's not that the introduction section will have just one paragraph. That is not the case. It will have multiple paragraphs. So when we come to the aspects, the elements, the building blocks of a research article, we actually come across paragraphs. Paragraphs are the main blocks of argumentation, because you all know that a research paper is nothing but a piece of argument that the researcher has built up in order to prove a point. And that's one big reason why when research scholars are required to defend their thesis, it's called thesis defense, because you're going to defend your thesis with the help of lots of arguments. So paragraphs are the main blocks of your argument. And that's the reason why they actually perform a great role in the research articles. Then when we go a little downwards, the micro level, then we come across sentences. Sentences are actually the main blocks of meaning. When we put them together, we construct a paragraph, and then that constitutes or constructs the main block of your argument. So the main blocks of meaning, sentences, that means we will be taking care of paragraphs and sentences today. And then we'll also be taking care of words as the nuclei of any writing. Without words, you cannot write. Because ultimately, when you take a look at the whole product, the final product, it's composed of words only, nothing else. When you go and break them into fragments, into pieces, finally, or in the end, you come to words, because they are the nuclei of any writing. So these are the things that I'm going to walk you through, and this is a model, this micro level approach. So we start with text, okay? Start with text, and then we move towards paragraph. You can combine these three things together, sentence, clause, and phrase. And then we finally come to this particular thing. So there is absolutely no doubt that words are the most important elements or building blocks of any writing, and in this case, research writing. Do you agree with me?
Yes, sir.
Words are the most important things. Vocabulary is the most important thing when it comes to research writing. If a researcher is not familiar with the right kind of words, the research writing process will be retarded. Okay, so if you all agree with me, we'll move forward. Do you agree?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that means we'll come to the first element. This is the micro level approach, the reverse approach. We'll come to the first element, words. the main blocks of construction. So how is that? Are you familiar with the academic word list, AWL? It's very popularly called AWL. Quickly, yes or no?
No, sir.
Are you familiar?
No, sir.
Okay, so this is called the academic word list. The academic word list, you can see a few relevant details about the academic word list, or AWL, and it is very popularly called. It contains 570 word families, and this is available for free. You don't have to pay anything to download this from the internet. The academic word list, or AWL. It was developed in New Zealand by Coxhead. So this is also very popularly called the Coxhead model, or the Coxhead list. So it has 570 word families, and these word families were derived on the basis of the study of 3.5 million words frequently used across all research articles, or in research articles across all disciplines. So from 1990s. So it has 10 sublists. Okay, what I mean to say is, how do you know that a word is an academic word? For example, the difference between children and kids. We frequently use kids in everyday conversations, in everyday transactions, but kid is not an academic word. Children or child is an academic word. But most often we find that our researchers tend to ignore this particular distinction between the formal and the informal, between the academic and the non-academic. And that's exactly where they enter into the trap, and they end up committing lots of blunders. So this particular list is going to help you, familiarize yourself with the academic vocabulary. This is one. And then an even more comprehensive is this. The AVL, the academic vocabulary list, is far more comprehensive in comparison to the previous ones. You can see the corpus. It's only 3.5 million words. And then when you come to this, you can see 120 million words. So you can realize how comprehensive this particular list is, the academic vocabulary list. So 120 million words of academic texts, that is taken from the corpus of contemporary American English. Okay, so on the basis of that, these people, Mark Davis and Gardner, they have prepared this academic vocabulary list. And once you familiarize yourself with this academic vocabulary list, you will know which words to use, or which are the best words to use in your research writing, and which words to drop or avoid. But you may ask me this question: how can somebody familiarize oneself with such a huge corpus? That's not the thing. I'll walk you through that particular list. Now take a look at this. But before that, can you tell me which is the most frequently used word in all research writings? Can you guess? Or if you know, that's wonderful. Can you guess? Or yeah. Anyone? Quickly, you can guess, no problems. There is no negative scores for wrong guesses. Which is the most?
Is it studies, sir?
Study. Okay, fine. Anyone else? Please go ahead.
So section.
I didn't get that.
Section in this section, like
okay,
that.
Section. Right. And please go ahead and make some more guesses.
So findings, conclusions.
Yeah, that's great. Findings. And
Analysis.
Is it was, sir?
Analysis. Yeah, somebody is saying something. Please repeat
Analysis.
that.
Is this was?
Analysis. I got analysis. The other word.
The analysis, investigation.
Okay, analysis, justification, right.
Sir, is it something like the or was?
No, why not? I mean, I don't say you can be wrong. No way. We all have
Conclusion, summary.
summary. Fine, that's great. So I'll show you a list of the most frequently used words, academic words, in fact. This is based on the KUKA, okay, on the basis of which the AVL was prepared. Study and its variants, for example, studies, studied, studying, okay. Study and its variants is the most frequently occurring or used word in all research writing. This is the top 9 most frequently occurring or used words in all research writing. Study, develop, group, system, relate, research, social, result, use. Okay, most frequently used. What I mean to say is, once you become familiar with the popularity and most frequently used words in all research writings, irrespective of the field that you profess or belong to, you can use them invariably in your writings as well. What I mean to say at this point is that it's very important for all of us to be familiar with the academic vocabulary, so that when it comes to reporting our research papers in the written form, we can always use the right words and we can minimize the chances of getting a revision or rejection call. Okay, so now with that, I'll walk you through the world of academic vocabulary so that you become either familiar or you refresh your memory of academic vocabulary. We need to refresh this because most often we tend to ignore, we tend to be a little complacent that yes, I know there's no problem, there's no way I can commit any error in my writing. But then it's always a good idea to refresh your memory so that you do not commit any errors. So when it comes to academic vocabulary, there are two things, two types, which matter the most, and you want to familiar with them: content and structure words. Okay, so can you tell me, it has always been a fight between content and structure words. Can you please tell me which is more important? Can you please tell me?
Sir,
Sir,
content.
Yes.
So according to me, if we even use a simple vocab, but we are telling in a structured manner, it have a better influence than with a, like content is very strong, but it is not structured. It may lead to some, misunderstanding, or it will not communicate the way we want our words to be, as decoded.
Right. Okay, agreed. So I'll give you a glimpse of both and the power of both, and I'll also tell you or let you know why we need both the content words and structure words. I mean, a good grasp of both, a command over both, so that we can confidently navigate the world of research writing. Okay, so and then there'll be a few demonstrations, there'll be a few questions for you to take and respond to. So in this segment, I will be doing all this. Okay, let's take a look at this paragraph. It's taken from this particular title: Studies in Tilted and Untilted Rotator Phases of Long Chain Alkanes. Okay, so you can see the use of the structure words because the structure words have been underlined. Okay, and when you look at the number of structure words in this paragraph, taken from a research article, you can very well understand the number of structure words is far less in comparison to the number of content words in this paragraph. But the question is, if we drop these structure words, can we still do or manage? Can we still manage?
No, sir.
It is not possible. We cannot manage, because that will definitely take away the meaning from us, make the meaning very vague and obscure. It will render the entire paragraph meaningless. So therefore, structure words are very, very important, remember, because they are called structure words since they add to the overall structure of your writing. You may have a good grasp of the content words, which generally people have. Many studies have found that people are generally good at content words, but people are not that good at the use of structure words. And that's exactly why most researchers, especially researchers coming from science and engineering disciplines, they struggle with the right use of structure words. You might agree to me when I say that. Most often we have noticed that researchers from science and engineering disciplines struggle with the use of articles. So simple and so easy. But then articles are the most difficult ones to use. So am I right when I say that? Because I have come across lots of researchers from sciences and engineering disciplines who often complain that they find it a very tough activity while using articles properly. So that's exactly how most people generally struggle with the use of structure words. So let's take a look at the power of content words. That doesn't necessarily mean that content words are not powerful at all. That's exactly where you need to be familiar with the world of academic vocabulary. Academic vocabulary. Remember, structure words do not change, whether they are used in the academic or non-academic contexts. But content words do change. When the contexts change, they change. So therefore, it's very important that we start with content words first. For example, you have done the research, you agree that you're going to write a paper to tell your findings, and you plan your manuscript. So I don't think there is any problem with this particular statement. Do you find any problem with this particular statement? Do you? I don't see any problem with this particular statement. So can I use it in an academic context? What's your response? What's your take? From here on, your participation in this session begins, and it will continue until the end. So quick participation will help us save some quality time. Yes.
So first thing, like you have completed your field work, and we can use, instead of paper, research paper.
Okay. Fine. Any other response? Quick ones? At least 2 or 3 responses.
Yeah. So we should come out with, after the experiment, we should come out with the appropriate content words.
Okay. So whenever we take a look at this statement, we generally do not find any problem with it, because it appears to be fine, no problems. But in an academic context, this is a better statement. You have not done, you generally do not write, we have done research. Tell your findings, you're not telling a story. Okay, so you're going to report your findings, and you have structured your manuscript accordingly. So whenever it comes to the manuscript, the academic word structure will invariably figure. So the basic difference between these two statements lies in the use of academic and non-academic words. There is no problem with the word done, but it's generally not used in the academic context. So once you begin to take notice of these minute details, then you'll actually improve your academic vocabulary quotient. Okay, AVQ. So let's take a look at some other examples. All right. But before I throw certain questions to you, let's take a look at this particular segment. For example, when it comes to academic, the use of academic vocabulary in our research writing, we generally focus on various things. Always remember that your research paper is nothing but a report of various actions that you performed, various actions that you performed, whether it is the experiment or the field work or finding data, preparing data, analyzing data, and interpreting data. Then you're reporting your data, attempting a literature review, locating the research gap, and then expressing your research objectives, forming your research questions. Okay, so all these things actually point towards some kind of action that you perform at every stage. So for example, analysis is a type of action. So in order to show analysis, these are some of the words, academic words, that are generally and most frequently used. These words are in fact taken from the AVL, the academic vocabulary list. So if you're going to show your analysis of something, these are the words that you can use: analyze, appraise, define, diagnose, explore, identify, and so on. Okay, and you're familiar with all these words. In order to discuss your findings, what can be the action words that you can use or that you use in your research writings to discuss your findings? So start telling or guessing. You can do both. You suddenly find it difficult activity because we are not updated all the time. So
Sir, indicated.
Indicated, right?
Sir, depicts, like if I'm using some result, that this result depicts this.
Fine, no problems. I don't say you're wrong. Okay, I don't say. But then every time you use a word, we need to check whether it actually is an academic word and it actually presents this particular action. You're discussing your findings, whether that is a proper word, a proper academic word, which presents this particular action. Fine.
Sir,
There's no
determined.
Sir, that is the outcome of our objective, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, determined.
Fine. It can be anything. So
Sir, discover.
What I mean to say, if I ask you, any one participant, to tell me 3 words which can be used to discuss findings, you'll suddenly find it very difficult. The reason is you have probably stopped taking care of those words. And that's the reason why those words are not right there with you. Well, I just encourage all of you to keep those words ready with you, because we all are into research and teaching. So it's always a good idea for us to keep those words ready with us so that every time we need, we can find them right at hand. So yes, madam, somebody was saying something, please.
Sir, discovery.
Fine, it can be anything. I'll show you some of these words. If you do not find matching words, don't think that you are wrong. No. So confirm, content, demonstrate, indicate. Somebody said indicate, right? It documents or demonstrates, reveals. So, and this list is not exhaustive because the slide doesn't permit me to incorporate the entire word list. Okay, but these are some of the words that indicate your discussion of your findings. Okay, so one more. Indicate information in a table, because most often you use, we present data in a tabular form. So to indicate information in a table, because right below the table, begin to talk about the table. In the table above, this is done. Yes. What are the action
Illustrated,
words that you can use to indicate information?
illustrated, depicted,
Yes. Okay.
illustrated, depicted.
Illustrated, depicted, right? So I'll show you quickly some of the, all right, gives, lists, presents, summarizes, illustrates, depicts, classifies, fine. So what I mean to say is we need to be familiar with various action words for various actions that we perform while reporting our, either while conducting our research or reporting our research. So while conducting your research, if you carry those action words in your mind, it'll be easy for you to use the same action words. What am I doing now? I'm trying to demonstrate. So if you carry the word demonstrate in your mind, then while reporting your research, and that's the reason why most often research scholars are encouraged to note their everyday actions. For example, I'm mixing something, one particular solution with another. So I'm doing something. Okay, and these days, this is a very, easy thing to do, because we can always start the audio recorder of our phone, and then we can go on talking about it. What exactly am I doing now? I'm doing this. I'm mixing one solution with the another solution to see how and whether it leads to a new solution or not. You are recording your voice. You're recording every action that you're performing. So afterwards, you can listen to what you said, and you can transcribe your own words, so that when you are ready to prepare your final report, you can use a lot of words that you used while actually conducting that experiment or actually performing that. So you can use that as well. So which words do you think, which action words that you can use to indicate a positive stand? There are two types of stands, a negative stand and a positive stand in research papers. So, for example, confirm, complement, corroborate, substantiate, support, uphold, validate, and verify. And this list is not exhaustive, remember that. So these are some of the words that you can use. And then we come to, I think, is that clear to you, this particular segment, the action segment? Since this is an action-driven activity, your research and the reporting of your research are action-driven activities. It's always a good idea to be familiar with action words for each of the actions that we perform during either the research process or the research writing process. So is that segment clear to you? Please let me know.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now, very important thing. You need to be very, very watchful when it comes to research writing. The things that you need to avoid, a big no to all these things. The first is phrasal verbs. I have seen people using phrasal verbs in their research writing. Phrasal verbs are not encouraged in research writing. Break down and put up, and there are always single words that can substitute phrasal verbs. So avoid the use of phrasal verbs in research writing. Phrasal verbs like find out, break down, and put up. In the place of find out, you can always write discover. Break down is academic words that can substitute the non-academic phrasal verbs. And this is something that you need to be very, very careful. There are some of us who are very, very good at writing skills. So that doesn't necessarily mean that you will try to be extraordinary in your writing. Okay, so all you have to be is to be impressive in your writing, not extraordinary. So you need to be careful about that. Then the use of adverbs like very and quickly. And then there are lots of other adverbs as well, are not generally encouraged in research writing. For example, in the place of very, you can write substantially, and quickly, rapidly. Okay, quickly is a non-academic word, and very is also a non-academic word. So, and then the reporting verbs. So the reporting verbs like tentative. So in the place of tentative, when you are using these expressions like hypothesize, implies, suggest, they will mean that you are adopting a tentative approach. And that will also lead to hedging in your writing. Are you familiar with hedging in research writing? Hedging? Please let me know.
No.
Hedging in research writing? Okay, so hedging is a type of activity that most young research scholars or researchers indulge in because at the early stage of their research career, young researchers are not very confident about what they are saying, confident about how to formulate the right kind of arguments. And that's one big reason they generally end up using tentative expressions like implies, suggests. Implies is not very conclusive, okay, or suggests. So this kind of approach in writing or to writing is called hedging. That means you try to hedge it. And there are people who generally say, a lot of researchers have said, without mentioning who are they. Okay, and as it has been rightly suggested, as it has been rightly said, these are instances of hedging. So we generally come across such practices in the writings of young researchers. So when you're reporting certain things and you're using reporting verbs, the moment you use hypothesize, imply, suggest, you're a little tentative in your approach. If you use discuss, reflect, observe, you're neutral. Okay, you're not biased, you're not prejudiced. And it's always a good idea to use a neutral voice in your writing. The tentative voice is not accepted in research writing because you need to be very clear you have done this, therefore you cannot afford to be tentative. Neutral, that's good because you are adopting a critical approach. Strong, I mean, when a young researcher passes through few stages of research and after spending a few years on research, the young researcher will move out from the tentative state to the neutral and then the strong state because you'll be very, very strong in your arguments. You'll be very clear, you'll be without doubts in your writings. So, but before that, you need to be very, very watchful so that you do not commit these reporting verb errors like tentative or neutral. You cannot be very, very neutral at times. You all know that in research writing, you need to, as the researcher, you need to take a stand. So your voice matters the most in research writing. So you cannot afford to be neutral all the time. It's a good idea to be neutral at times. And you cannot be strong all the time. How can you be so sure about your research? So therefore, you cannot be so sure about your research. You need to go for a mix of these approaches. So therefore, you need to watch out for such approaches in research writing. And then I'll walk you through the magic of structure words. Okay, take a look at this particular thing. I love to write research papers for school or college or university. You can substitute the word school. Moreover, I really do this and that. So, yes, can you see the power of structure word? Or what, which is the structure word and what it is doing there?
Yes. Love to.
Love to. Okay. Okay.
And moreover, I really enjoy.
Yes.
Moreover, I really enjoy.
Yes. Moreover is the structure word here because it extends the first statement beyond. Okay. Moreover is the structure word. Can you tell me the function it is or the action it is performing in this expression? Yes.
It's an addition, suggestion of an additional activity.
It is adding to the already existing statement, the previous statement. Fine. Next one, this one. I mean, we generally use this.
Terrible.
Which is the structure word here.
Oh,
As a result,
Are you not sure about that? Your tone
as a result,
suggests your tone is a tentative tone here. Okay. It's
so even
tentative, am I right?
terrible.
It's a tentative tone. So we also use the same kind of tentative tone in research writing when we are not very sure about certain things.
It is now.
Yes. As a result is the structure expression or structure phrase or word. What is the function it's performing?
concluding something, it is concluding.
Okay, right. Please go ahead. Some more responses.
So result of previous action.
Result of previous action. Right. And then, yeah, please carry on. Some more participants.
The result of the previous experience.
Previous experience, result of previous experience. Right. It's actually presenting the consequence of something. Whenever we use the word result, that means it's a consequence. I'm sorry. It's a consequence of something. And what is the consequence here? Romeo is cooking for himself now. That is the consequence. And which thing has caused that consequence? Because Romeo did not like the spaghetti that was prepared by Juliet. So just to add some humor to this particular statement, this example is used. Okay. So to show consequence, the first example, adding, okay, that is addition. And the second example, consequence. Similarly, now guess, or now tell me. Yes. Which is the structure word here?
Similarly.
Right. So
Similarly.
now it's easier for you all. Okay. So you can quickly find that. Similarly. So to show similarity between or among things, similarly. Okay. Whenever we offer a comparison, we actually take into account things that are similar. Whenever we offer a contrast, we take things that are opposite, okay, not similar. So to show similarity, right? I love my dog, but I hate it when it eats the roll of toilet paper.
But.
Yes?
But.
Yeah, but is a structure word, and the action that it is performing here. Yes.
To indicate a contradiction.
Right. The contradiction or contrast, contrasting emotions. You love, you hate. Love and hate are contrasting emotions, and the difference or the contrast is presented by but, the structure word. Okay, so when we take a quick look at the previous, all these statements, the 4 statements that I have already shown to you. The first is addition, the second is consequence, the third is similarity, the fourth is contrast. So I mean, whenever we sit down to write, whether it's research writing or any academic writing for that matter, we need these structure words if we have to perform these actions. If I have to perform an addition, I need such words like moreover, furthermore, further, and a few other words. I must use those words in order to extend my writing beyond a certain thing, a certain limit. Okay, so some more quick ones.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. That's great. So now the guessing time is getting reduced. So, of course, the function, the action that it's performing.
Reiteration.
Reiteration, right? Okay. Any other quick ones? Quick responses? Yes, yes. All right. This is the most tricky one. Okay. See, in research writing, we cannot always
Generalize.
yes.
This is specific, sir. This cannot be generalized. That is what it indicates.
Okay. So in research writing, we cannot always enjoy the privilege of using supporting arguments. Okay, supporting arguments, because we all know that research writing, a piece of research writing is nothing but a piece of argument. So your research article is nothing but a piece of argument that you are furthering. That's your argument. And in order to corroborate your argument, you need certain supporting arguments. And that's exactly what we generally do. We need supporting arguments. These people have also said so. Okay. But at the same time, in research writing, we also give place to arguments that do not support our views. Opposing or oppositional stance, oppositional views are also of great importance in research writing. So this is one such example. This structure word is a structure word of concession. By using of course, we are giving some concession to other writings. Therefore, it says not every scholar shares this belief. That means there are scholars who have different views, who have opposite views as well. So whenever we give concession to oppositional views in research writing, we use such expressions. This is a kind of structure word we use in research writing. And then this. Yes, which is the structure word or phrase or expression.
Is it most likely?
Yes.
More likely?
More likely, right?
As the data shows.
Okay, I'll stop you all for a while, and then I'll check with you whether you're very clear about structure words and content words. Okay, do you know what structure words are? I don't ask you to define the types. Which words are structure words?
Sir, it gives a meaningful a meaning to a set of content words.
Okay. So, okay, let me tell you clearly, structure words are those words that cannot stand on their own. Yes, somebody is saying something. Please go ahead.
Linking words.
Of course, linking words are also structure words, transition words, linking words. Structure words are those words that cannot stand on their own. They don't have any meaning. Therefore, they do not stand on their own. For example, articles are structure words. Prepositions are structure words. Conjunctions are structure words. Okay, all others are not structure words. For example, noun, pronoun, verb, adverb, and then adjectives. They're not structure words. They are content words. Therefore, more likely cannot be a structure word here. Okay.
Okay.
So as the data show, as is the structure word here. Okay, as is the structure. So as, what is the function of as in this statement, in this expression?
Based on.
Yes. Okay, it gives you a basis for something. So as is the structure word here. Now, quickly, and this is my favorite. Okay.
In fact.
In fact,
Yes.
words.
Yes, yes. In fact. In fact is a structure word, and the function of that structure word. What is the function? Quickly.
It's adding to the sentence by giving a reason or
Yeah,
elaborating.
Exactly, exactly. So whenever you try to ratiocinate or give a strong reason, in fact, that means you cannot afford to not give a fact after using in fact. Therefore, it carries the word fact. And what is a fact in this statement? There is a statement in the beginning.
22 perfect.
The frequency of
Yes, exactly. 22 perfect games is the fact. In the last 2 years, that's a fact. You're giving some actually valid facts. Therefore, you have a right to use the word in fact. So you use the word in fact, and thereafter you don't give any facts. That is a privilege you cannot enjoy. So therefore, this action needs to be properly validated. Yes.
Specifically.
Exactly. Now you see how easy this becomes now. So specifically. So the moment you use specifically, you're going to give some specific reasons or some specific causes or information. And what is that specific information?
That the speaker now goes to the gym. I mean, that is how he's becoming healthy.
Exactly. So the speaker says, I'm working on becoming healthier, but that's a very vague statement. What are you doing specifically? So in research writing, you have to be very, very specific. You cannot be vague in your approach. And then this one.
In other words.
Exactly. So this is very clear now. So in other words, is the structure expression or the structure word here. What is the function of that?
Like something like synonymous.
Exactly.
So is it reiterating?
Okay. Right. Whenever a research writer, a research paper writer feels or thinks that this particular thing needs a little elaboration, a little explanation, then you give some more information related to that particular thing so that your readers can follow you. So in other words, this is it. So the writer here realizes that the readers might not be able to understand the meaning of class struggle. What is class struggle? So the writer goes on to explain what is class struggle. It's a struggle between, or conflict between, the rich and the poor. So that is class struggle. Okay, so whenever you think that you have the responsibility of giving some more information to your readers, you can always use such expressions. So that is how we come to the last statement in this segment. Yes.
Now we know.
So now.
Previously.
Okay. Previously, sure. So now we know it is spherical. So now, it gives you two different positions. then and now. So previously points towards then. Then it was so, now it is so. So now is the structure word. So that is how we come to the end of this particular segment on structure, the power of, or the magic of structured words. So I think it's very, very clear to all of you now. So what is your take? If you can talk about it, what's your observation? What are your comments on this particular segment? So, I mean, is it important for us as research writers to take care of the structure words?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we need to be very, very good at the use of structure words, because they are the words that finally add to the overall structure of your research writing. So one may be extremely good at content words. If one is not as good or even better with structure words, it's going to be a difficult task for the person. So to sum up the entire exercise, so this is a short table. For example, for addition, these are some of the expressions that you can use. For cause and effect, this comparison, contrast, concession, you can see, of course, to be sure, given that. Okay. Conclusion, emphasis, example, clarification, repetition, time, or sequence. So these are the most popularly used groups of transition words. Addition group, cause and effect group, and then you come to the typical elements. Okay, the typical building blocks, the typical elements. So if you become familiar with these transition words or linking words, it's going to be easy for you, because your writing is all about making a transition from one state to the other. Sentence number one, you have written sentence number one. How are you going to write sentence number 2 or 3 or 4 or sentence number 500? Without being familiar with these things, it's not going to be easy. Okay. Well, that brings us to the other aspect of this vocabulary building block. I'll quickly walk you through this segment. Take a look at this. Somebody, I mean, this statement was found in a research paper. A couple of researchers have found out that, is it fine or there is any problem? Quickly take a look at that, and then I'll show you what's wrong with this statement. In the meantime, please allow me a few seconds to take a drop of water. Thank you. Quickly. Yes? Any response? Okay, I'll give you a hint. All right, is that clear to you now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that's the difference. In research writing, we cannot afford to be informal. Couple of is informal. You can use many researchers, several researchers, a few researchers, but a couple of researchers is informal. So that's not a good idea. Now it'll be easy for you to quickly do this. Yes. What's wrong with this particular statement? This is taken from a research paper. I want your quick responses. Okay. Remember, this is the 4th day of this program, and you all have become familiar with the nuances of research writing.
Don't, I think cannot be used.
Okay, right. You're right. Contraction is to be avoided in research writing. Remember that cannot, do not, does not, okay, are the expressions accepted in research writing. Can't, doesn't, don't, are not generally encouraged. So the first is informal expression, the second is contractions. Contractions are not encouraged in research writing. Okay, one more statement.
Like wonders.
Okay, one wonders. Wonders, you mean to say. Okay. Any other response? Quick ones. It is a little tricky, I suppose. Well, so take a look at
We
this.
avoid using words like really.
Yes. Okay. Busted is a slang word. Okay. For example, in everyday conversation, we use, are you nuts? So nuts means, are you mentally unstable? Crazy. But that's a slang expression. So busted is a slang expression. Busted means ugly, unattractive, ugly. Okay. So slangs are not encouraged in research writing. So take care of those. Then we come to some more.
Cream of the crop.
Right. This is easy now. Okay. So what kind of expression is that?
Significant. Can it be used?
Okay. Any other response?
Sir, cream of the crop, maybe that this will harvest more money, means we'll gain money, best crop.
Okay. No, one of your fellow participants just said that cream of the crop is the expression which needs to be dropped. Okay. Yes. It's a cliched expression. So cliched expressions are not expected in research writing. It's very simple. It's considered to be the best. Cream of the crop means the best of its kind. The meaning of that. So you write that, the best of its kind. Okay, and then
more preferable.
More is probably the word that needs to be dropped. Fine. Any other response?
So to do this, not clear, I think.
Okay, it's not clear. Fine. So in this case, more preferable is an instance of redundancy. Redundancy, that means unnecessary. The moment you write preferable, that carries a meaning of more within it. You don't have to, it's almost like we call this unmarried bachelor syndrome. Okay, if I say my friend, meet my friend, he is an unmarried bachelor. How is that?
Okay. So unmarried and bachelor, both same thing.
Yes, yes. So unmarried becomes redundant here. You either say a bachelor or no, he is unmarried. So that is the problem here, redundancy. And then we come to this.
We have yet seen.
Okay.
So unique is unique. It cannot be most unique.
Yes, a unique is the best of its kind. So it cannot be most. There's no need to use the word most. Okay, redundancy. One more.
Lesser time, I think.
Yeah. What should be the expression?
In less time.
Right. Right usage. Less time. You use lesser when you're offering a comparison with something else. And there is no such comparison. So it's less time, not lesser time. Okay. So that way we come to the end of this first building block. If you have any questions related to this particular segment, you can quickly bring them up. And then we'll move to the next segment. Yes. If you have any questions related to the things that I talked about in the first segment. Yes.
Sir, actually, thank you to you and Prabha sir for mentioning the very essential aspects of academic writing and research writing. So will you please suggest some material which can be used, right? Your material or some book you think that can be advised?
Definitely, I'll give you a list of some resources that you can use or explore and use
Sure, sure.
in order to improve your research writing, capabilities.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, definitely, definitely. Yes. Shall we move to the next segment now?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay. So once you become good at academic vocabulary, now you're ready to frame sentences. And in order to frame sentences, you need to learn a few tricks of the trade. All right, although I'm using a cliched expression, but in conversations, they are accepted, not in research writing. Okay, so let's start with that. Now, this is one of the most important research writing activities that we take. Do you agree? Because the first important thing in all research writing is to establish the background, is to establish the field. We call this field establishment exercise. You are going to establish the field. You're going to establish why your topic is important. Okay? So there are certain ways of doing that. And most often, especially the young researchers, so they struggle with the blank page syndrome. They don't know how to start it, how to say it. So these are some of the readily available expressions that generic expressions, remember, if you use them as they are, you're not going to commit any plagiarism. Okay, so these are generic expressions, and there are so many options for each one of you. You can pick any of these options in order to establish why your topic is important. So you can start with X, that is your topic, is the main or major cause of this and this. All right. If you're studying probably the SARS-CoV-2 virus, you can say the SARS-CoV-2 virus is a leading cause of infection or global infection or infection worldwide. You can always start, and that's the reason why you're studying this. It's main, primary, major cause of this and this. Okay, the major cause of unemployment is this. The moment you mention the major cause, you actually win for yourself the right to study or research that area. So therefore, while framing your statements, your sentences, it's very important that you do so logically. Or you can pick any of these options. X is recognized as or widely considered to be important, a very important this and this, because of which I'm studying this area. So without establishing the fact that your topic is important, either your research writing or your thesis. Your abstracts, are you familiar with them? Structured and unstructured abstracts. Please let me know. Quickly, yes or no? Yes? Anyone? Are you familiar with structured and unstructured abstracts?
Sir, are you meaning to say that the structure given by the particular journal?
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about that. There are multiple types of abstracts. For example, these days we live in the era of video abstracts. Now most journals ask you to send them a video abstract. Okay, I don't exactly know whether you have done that ever or not, but very soon when you're planning to submit your research article to any journal, they're going to ask you to submit a video abstract. Okay, so right before the video abstract convention or practice, there was this visual abstract. Okay, and before that, there were two types of abstracts, which, I mean, the practice of which lasted for several years. For example, structured abstracts and unstructured abstracts. A structured abstract is actually structured. For example, there is a section called background. You use the heading background, okay? And then you come to the research question or research aim, and then your methodology, your findings, and then your conclusion. It has a structure. And the unstructured abstracts do not have any structures. I mean, just one paragraph within which you find all these elements. It doesn't mean that an unstructured abstract will have no structure at all. They also have a structure, but they are not divided into different segments or parts, like the structured abstract. You can explore these things on your own. Structured, you just go to any, I mean, Google search engine, for example, and type structured abstract. That will give you examples, an unstructured abstract. Then visual abstract, okay, or pictorial abstract, or video abstract. So you'll get to know different types of abstracts. So this will give you the structure. This will give you the opening to your research paper, research article. Okay, so that's how you can do that. So what are the other things that you actually come across while writing your research articles? This is the first important thing, introduction. You're introducing your field of research to your possible readers. You're introducing your field of research, your topic to your researchers. So these are some of the ready-made expressions that you can make use of in order to start your writing. Okay, so what are the other steps that you generally go through when you write your research paper?
So citation, references.
Now those things come very, very late. After this, you have now established the field. What is the next?
The over world scenario, what happened? We have to start from that, no, sir? Our topic.
Do you mean to say literature review?
No, not literature review, sir.
Okay.
The worldwide, how they have started.
No, you have already
Application.
Okay, you have already established why your topic is important. Topic means the field, and your topic is important. You have already established that. What is the next step?
Come to the subtopics, sir, or title of or the topic of interest.
No, this is your topic of interest. You're talking about it. You have already established that. Then what?
Specifics, so methodology, specifics.
No, you are coming to methods, but there is something in between this and methods. I'll show you.
Do we talk about our contribution? Do we talk about what we are doing?
Present history of that study. Without any direct references to the literature, you may outline, this is an option, okay? You may outline the past, present history of the study because you're still establishing that field. All right, so you can write statements like this. And right here, you're not referring to any existing literature, existing body of work, okay? This is a historical approach, and this is optional. Once you are through with this, what are you going to do next? For example, if you remember that basketball game, perfect basketball game example, okay, that adopts a historical approach to talk about how there have been quite a lot of perfect games in the last 2 years, without referring to any particular literature. So that's not literature review, that's this. And this is optional. If you wish, you can actually, so in order to establish your field, you can take help of this particular segment. Okay, and then what? what are you going to do next? Quickly. You can recall your research writing process. Anyone?
So linking to the current study.
The
Okay.
present status, the present.
Right, fine. So you can also do that there, indicating the gap in knowledge and possible limitations.
Identifying the gap, and we have to focus on that, sir. We have to mention.
Exactly. Exactly. You can do that. So in order to indicate gap in knowledge or knowledge gap, you can use these generic expressions. You can say few researchers have addressed the problem. Previous work has done this. Current solutions to X are inconsistent or inadequate. You're going to add to the existing solutions. Incorrect, ineffective, inefficient. So these are the words that you can pick according to your need, your situation. Okay, there's a wrong bullet point. You can, unsatisfactory, along with the other statements, other words in the previous bullet point. Okay, so oversimplistic, unsatisfactory, fine. And then you come to stating the aim of your paper and its possible contribution. You're going to aim the state of your paper. That is how you end your introduction segment. So these are some of the ready-made expressions that you can use. Okay, the paper outlines. If it actually outlines, you use outline. If it actually proposes or describes or presents, you do that. And this paper is a review of this, a report of this. Okay, the paper aims to validate what exactly are you planning? What are your aims? So depending on your aims, you can pick any of these ready-made expressions to talk about your aims or to start writing about your aims. Okay, and then we come to reviewing past literature. I mean, there's a misplacement. So we can take this to the earlier slide. Okay, so you review past literature and then you locate your knowledge gap. Okay, and then you talk about your research aim. There's a mislocation, in fact. Okay, so while reviewing your research or past literature, you can use any of these statements in their groundbreaking or cutting edge paper of this and this. Some preliminary work was carried out in the early 1990s, and then. So these are the generic expressions that you can use in your research writing without committing any plagiarism. Okay, so I'm going to, and this list is very, very exhaustive. Okay, it's very exhaustive. I've just shown you glimpses of this list. There's a 53-page list. In fact, I'm going to share the entire document with Professor Dwivedi, so he can share that document with all of you. Okay, is that fine? So that you have a ready-made guide to help you with your writing needs. Is that fine?
Thank you, sir. Yes,
Thank
sir.
you very much, sir, for sharing.
So I'm going to share, and this has been brought up by Springer. It's a very authentic document, in fact. Okay, Springer Nature. I'm going to share this document with Professor Dwivedi. He'll share that with you in return. Okay. Now we move to the next segment. Paragraphs, the main blocks of argumentation. So once you begin to write sentences and you go on writing sentences, multiple ones, you're actually creating paragraphs. And those are the most important blocks or building blocks of your research writing, because they are the main blocks of your argumentation. You cannot present an argument in just one statement. Okay, so in order to argue properly, you need a few statements, a few supporting statements. We all know that. You can start with an argument, and then you need to support your argument with a few supporting statements. Okay, when we do that, we are actually creating a block of argumentation. That is a paragraph. So your research writing or your research paper has lots of paragraphs. Therefore, this segment is going to focus on the process of writing paragraphs. The first thing that you need to do in order to find the process of writing paragraphs is this. This is an example. We'll go on to build a paragraph. And every time I add something new to this particular statement, I'll give you a reason for that addition or reason as to why that is being added and with what purpose. So the first thing that you need to do is to identify the paragraph's purpose. Okay, so if you look at this statement, the Braille system gained immediate popularity with the blind students at the Institute in Paris. But it had to gain acceptance among the sighted before its adoption throughout France. So there is a use of a structure word. Quickly, let me know what it is. A structure word.
But.
Right.
But.
That means since it is used, the structure word but is used, that means there are two contrasting states or statements of use. On one hand, the Braille system gained immediate popularity with blind students, but it did not gain any popularity among the sighted, those who could see. So there is a contrasting status, so to which the structure word but is pointing. Okay, now there's a problem, there's a challenge for you. Okay, what exactly are you going to do now? You have already
it has to be made popular among sighted as well. It was made to be popular among sighted as well.
Exactly. It has a challenge to gain acceptance among the sighted before it can be adopted throughout France. Right? So that's a challenge. And how are you going to talk about it? Right? So this topic statement, if this is a topic statement, how exactly are we going to add to this particular argument? How exactly are we going to support this particular argument so that we build a paragraph? I'll show you in different stages. So, fine. And then we come to this. And then we come to this particular segment. So let's start this particular thing. Just a moment. Right. So it transitions from the previous paragraph and then clearly identifies this paragraph's focus. Okay. So which discussed the invention of Braille, the acceptance of Braille, and relates to the overall purpose or overall thesis. I'll show you, I'll give you an example. So let's start. And then how it leaves space for evidence and analysis. So let's start. The Braille system gained, this is the same statement. Now you're talking about the support. The question may be, why should it gain acceptance among the sighted people so that it can be adopted throughout France? Why? That's the question, and you need to answer that question. So while writing, it's very, very important that you play both the roles. You play the role of the writer, and you also play the role of the reader. From the reader's perspective, the first statement, the colored statement, will create curiosity, inquisitiveness. Why should it gain acceptance? That is the question. So as a reader, when you ask yourself that question, then as the writer, you answer that question. This support was necessary because of this. So see how nicely you are arguing. Because sighted teachers and this. Okay. That's why you need that. So this statement, the second one, expands on the topic and shows how it fits into the broader argument. Fine. Now we go to the next one. Now we have two colored statements, statement number 1 and statement number 2. And then what kind of questions does statement number 2 give rise to? Okay. The cited teachers are the leaders. They have control over this. So who are those people? Who are those people? Then you are given, because you have already talked about it. You have talked about those leaders who have control. And who are those people? You are giving that information. So that is how you're adding more information to this, the already existing information. Now, we have 3 statements, okay? And then what type of question or what kind of question is statement number 3 raising? Okay. So these are the teachers at that particular place, Royal Institute for Blind Youth. So they were doubtful. They were skeptical about that particular system, the tactile method of learning. They were skeptical about it. And that skepticism resulted in the resistance, or in their resistance. So you're giving the reason again. So you're doing that. And then you're adding to the paragraph. You see, there are 4 statements now. Then you come to this particular thing. Over time, however, with increasing impetus to make this and this and this. Fine. So there is a structure word used in this new statement. What is that structure word? Quickly. In this statement.
Is it with, sir?
I'm sorry. All right.
With.
In this statement, there is a structure word.
However?
Yes, however. However is the structure word. And what kind of structure word is this? The function of this.
Contradicting.
Contradicting? Sure.
I think it supports the previous argument.
Mm-hmm.
Opposing, sir.
Okay, fine. So if you remember, then and now situation, then and now situation. Previously, people believed in that. Now they believe in this. So, however, is a sudden shift from an existing system to the other, existing state to another state, a different state. So, however, the use of the structure word, however, is presenting that shift from one state to the other. So that is how it now adds to the previous statements, and it logically takes the thought process forward. And then finally, it took approximately 30 years, but the French government eventually approved the Braille system. Okay. So it eventually happened, but it took 30 years. So that adds to the statement, and that brings to the, a proper closure to this paragraph. Okay. So this final sentence ends the story with a consequence of these events. So it gives you a clear picture of the consequence. Now, if you read the entire paragraph, you can discover on your own, so how the argument is furthered. Therefore, it is called, a paragraph is called the main block of your argument. So this is how the argument is furthered. And you have citations as well. On the basis of certain references, you are arguing the state of the brain, or the development of the Braille system in France. So now the entire paragraph is ready for you. So that brings us to a few very important questions related to a paragraph. So what we generally come across is the unity, order, coherence, and completeness. So could you find this unity, order, coherence, and completeness in this paragraph? There's a sense of completeness in this paragraph. Okay. So that brings us to paragraph development strategies. Okay. So these are the 4 things that you need to take care of while building or developing paragraphs. You first start with the topic. Okay. Your topic's sentence or your central idea for that particular paragraph. There is a trick that is generally used. I don't exactly know whether you're familiar with that trick or not. Familiar with this? Somebody's mic is left open, I think. Professor Dwivedi, can you mute?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm doing it.
Please. This is the signposting technique. Are you familiar with the signposting technique? Signposting. Anyone who is familiar with signposting in writing?
I think it is a goal or that we are planning to achieve.
Yes, yes.
It is the goal that we are aiming to prove.
Okay. Signposting is the hint that you give to your readers as to what your writing is about. Okay, so that is signposting. So the hint that you give to, so signposts, for example, we generally come across signposts, milestones and signposts. So signposts cannot be very, very expansive, elaborate. So therefore signposts have to be very crisp, straightforward and clear. Okay, so that they do not lead to any confusions. So I'll give you an example of that in a while. The first important thing is the topic that you're talking about. Okay, so how do you convey that to your readers with signposts? And then you come to the main body. In the main body, you actually take care of these things. You set out reasoning, you describe results, you develop implications, you elucidate formulae, and then you elaborate or explain theoretical and thematic points. Then you come to the tokens. And there's a very important point in research writing, tokens. Okay, token sentence, called token sentences. In plain English, we call them supporting statements or supporting sentences. So the token sentences. So can you give an example of a token sentence or a token statement in research writing? For example, references and quotations. Okay. So quotations. There are various tricks of integrating quotations into a research article. Are you familiar with those tricks? I have already, I think Professor Dwivedi has shared a handout with you.
Yeah, I had shared, sir.
So you can take a look at that handout. Towards the end of that handout, you can discover these tokens. Okay, especially how to integrate quotations into research writing. There's a sandwich method that you can use in order to integrate your quotations into research writing. When it comes to literary studies, is there anybody into literary studies apart from Professor Dwivedi? Anybody else who studies literature or who researches literature?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, okay. So in literary studies, it is generally found that researchers indulge in huge and elaborate quotations. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Sometimes we come across quotations that run to 500 words, even more than 500 words. So that is not a good idea, in fact. And there are smart young PhD scholars who generally use lots of quotations from various sources so that they can make up for the minimum page requirement. Okay, they can attain the minimum page requirement. But it's not a good idea. So you can take a look at that handout and try to understand how you can integrate your quotations into your research findings. So tokens are very, very important. Remember, whenever you formulate your argument over something, now you need tokens, and those tokens will come to you in the form of examples, references, or quotations from other authentic supporting facts. So we use these token statements to, for example, if I say Chennai is a lovely place, okay, or Tirupati is a lovely place for that matter. So Tirupati is a lovely place. That is my topics statement or topic sentence. How do I go about it? How do I develop a paragraph? Yes, any suggestions?
So
Yes. I start with Tirupati is a lovely place. So how do I go about it? Oh, that is the only statement am I going to use?
I need to prove it by giving some examples.
I must prove that. And how do I prove that? By using these token sentences or token statements. So what kind of things that I can take into account? I can take examples of this lovely architecture, the temple, the location of that place, the kind of people, the kind of facilities or amenities that we find there, various things. So taking all of them into account, I can prove that this is a lovely place. So that's how I further my argument with the help of token statements. So in research writing as well, it's very important that we make use of this token, and we do, in fact. Okay, and then the wrap sentences, that is the concluding remarks, the wrapping sentences. That is how we put an end to our discussion. We conclude. Okay, so this is an example. If this is visible to you, you can quickly read. So the first statement is the topic statement. Comics have been a part of America since the 1930s, and their appeal has survived to present day. So how their appeal has survived to the present day is what I need to, the writer has. Okay, and then you can see how the argument is carried further. Okay. So that is how we generally bring up. This is, taken from a research article. Okay. So you see, there are so many signposting, so many transitions from one state to the other state. Transitions. So, for example, in recent years, and then to most, these are transitions. Okay, while the overall general public, okay, so more and more librarians are finding the graphic novels are powerful tools. So that is how the argument moves. Okay. So I can easily skip these sections. I think you are familiar with these things. So how do you, develop your ideas? You can depend on description or analysis. For example, you have conducted an experiment. Now you're going to describe, okay, how you did that, how you arrived at the conclusion. So you can use a cause and reason, or cause and effect, or cause and reason relationship, or effect and consequence relationship, comparison and contrast relationships, and the details that you need to incorporate in your paragraph, especially when writing your research articles, are these: fact, statistics, evidence. examples and illustrations. With the help of these details, you can actually build up your paragraphs and the entire research paper. Okay. And then I can easily use this. How do you maintain order in your paragraphs? Then spatial relationships, like as stated above, or you'll find in the statement below. Okay, and logic. Furthermore, in addition, these things actually add to the logico-scientific approach in your research writing. Okay, and then I have already talked about additives. Okay, so just to give you some more idea, for example, referencing, clarifying, and introducing, these are some of these additives. And then how to show conflict, emphasis, concession, or dismissal. So these are the examples of that. Okay. So, and then how do you show the causal relationship, cause, effect, condition, and purpose in your writing? So these are some of the words that add to these tasks. And then sequential effect. So numerical sequencing, continuation. Eventually, if you remember, eventually the French government accepted Braille. So eventually shows points towards continuation. Then digression. Okay. So then resumption, conclusion, they all fall under this category that is called sequential. Okay. And then the same brain system. Now, all right. So this is a task in which you can show the transitions, how the transition has taken place. Okay. So fine. Just to give you a quick recap of what we did today, we inverted the pyramid. Okay, this is called the inverted pyramid. We inverted the pyramid, and then I showed you how each of these building blocks, starting with word, sentence, and paragraph, are very, very important to the research writing process. So once we become familiar with these elements or the building blocks of research writing, it is going to be a very, very easy task for all of us. Okay, so with that, I end here, but at the same time, I'll ask you to, develop certain digital skills so that you can, in fact, easily navigate the world of research writing. I'm going to show you give you one example of that. Okay, one quick example of that. I'm going to share my screen with you. I'll come to you, Dr. Kumar. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen with you. But before that, yes. Okay, is that visible to you, this screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So I'm going to take you to a website where you can find this. Is this screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Right, great. So you go to this site and then, yes, you click on this thesis generator. Sometimes it may be a difficult activity for you to create your thesis statement. So is the case with most research scholars, the young ones. So there is an online thesis generator. You can see this. Okay, there's a University of Arizona thesis generator for writing an argumentative thesis. Okay, so all you need to do is to respond to the questions that are raised. So, for example, they have certain ready-made questions or statements. You can replace these statements with your own, okay, in the boxes. For example, state your topic. What exactly are you planning to study? In this case, is this visible to you? Monitoring children's television use.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So, since we do not have much time, I just am using the already used statements there. Okay, monitoring children's television use. Fine, that is your topic. The second question is, state your main idea about this topic. So it has to be just one main idea. Okay. So you think that parents should regulate the amount of television their children watch. If that is your main idea, fine, move to the next step. Give a reason that supports your main idea. Why do you say that parents should regulate the amount of television their children watch? If you think it's going to spoil them, it's going to affect their eyesight, their mental health, it can be anything. So it is not always intellectually stimulating. You're saying this on the basis of existing research that watching television leads to intellectual stimulation. Fine. But then an excessive amount of television watching will not be intellectually stimulating. If that is your stand, so you are saying that. If you can give another reason, if you have multiple reasons, for example, in this case, it prevents social interaction. That is one more reason, because children will be glued to the television sets all the time. If you can give one more reason, fine, or you do not give any reasons, okay? And then you can include an opposing viewpoint. You remember that opposing viewpoint, concessional viewpoints?
Yes, sir.
If you can give an opposing viewpoint, you write that television can also be educational. Fine, that is an opposing viewpoint, because that is an area of research which has multiple viewpoints. Some people say television use is useless, it is not intellectually stimulating. Some others say it is educational. So these are opposing viewpoints. So you give that viewpoint. Now you can click this, generate your thesis. So your thesis is generated. Now you can see thesis means thesis statement, not the entire thesis. While television can be educational, parents should regulate the amount of television their children watch, because it is not always intellectually stimulating. It prevents social interaction, and the other reason you have not given. So your thesis statement is ready. Okay. And then if you want to convert this thesis statement into an outline, paragraph outline, you can go to this particular segment. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
Turn your thesis into an outline. Click that. So your thesis statement is converted into an outline. Okay. So this is your introductory paragraph. For example, in this paragraph, you're going to talk about this. Okay. While television can be educational, parents should. Okay, fine. And then you come to paragraph number 1. That is your thesis statement. And you come to paragraph number 1. First, parents should regulate the amount of television their children watch because it is not always intellectually stimulating. Now you prove how it is always not intellectually stimulating by citing examples or research works or studies conducted into this particular aspect of watching television. You prove, and then you go to paragraph number 2, possible topic sentence. Additionally, it prevents social interaction. Now you cite examples. You remember token sentences? Do you remember that? Token sentences?
Yes, sir.
So now you bring token sentences to prove this point. It prevents social interaction. On the basis of past research, you show how it prevents social interaction. And then you come to paragraph 3. Finally, parents should regulate the amount of television their children watch, or forget that. And then you come to the concluding paragraph where you talk about this particular thing. Thus, while television can be educational, parents should regulate the amount of television their children watch because it is not going to be intellectually stimulating always. So your paragraphs have also been, possible paragraphs have also been created on the basis of your thesis statement. So you can make use of this particular website in order to create your thesis statements. Okay, so fine then, I just wanted to show you that. So I come back to the meeting mode. Well, so I'm through. Now, if you have any questions or queries or comments or suggestions, observations, you're most welcome.
Hello, sir.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Sir, thanks for excellent knowledge sharing and illustration, sir. Sir, one query, you mentioned that while emphasizing the topic, you showed some illustrations and said that they don't come under plagiarism. So can you just brief that, sir?
Yes, I shared a list of generic statements. When something becomes generic, it doesn't come under the ambit of plagiarism. So because that's become common property now. So I mean something like Creative Commons. Okay, that's become common property now. And whenever you make use of those generic statements, because no one created these statements, it just happenstance that somebody used those statements in their writings. So generic statements or generic information do not fall under the ambit of plagiarism. So when you make use of, for example, I'm going to share this Springer guide with you all that includes generic statements under 53 categories. Okay, so you can borrow freely from each of those categories to complete your research paper. So, and without committing plagiarism. Okay.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I want to share that document with Professor Dwivedi so that you can get a copy of the same.
Thank you very much, Professor. You have shared a lot. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. The wonderful session. I hope you will share this PPT. It is very fruitful to us.
Yeah, sure. I can do that.
Thank you so much, sir.
Any question if you have?
Thank you so much, sir.
So I'll have to dust now again René Martin. Beyond school, once we went into college,
No.
we never paid so much of
you
attention.
did
But
not,
again, syntax, I would always wonder, where does this clause analysis lead to? But now, again, go back to the books. It's been such a wonderful listening to you, and the entire linkage between academic writing, structure of English language, and research writing. That has been very well portrayed. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. This
Yes, good
is
afternoon.
Anupama from KC International School, working here as a principal.
Okay.
I would admit, sir, one thing that in today's session that I have realized that maybe unknowingly or lack of knowledge that how much mistakes we commit on day-to-day basis when it comes to writing and speaking and doing anything, because small tips I have got today, and definitely, sir, I assure you that I will be following all your knowledge given today, and I think we can improve better. Thank you so much, sir.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for that.
Dr. Mishra ji, thank you so much. You have left us enriched with so many aspects actually.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I should thank Prabha sir also. Yeah.
Sir, I just wanted to know one thing. What is the next session timing? Because actually I had one meeting. It was pre-committed. So I just wanted to know the session reporting time.
2:30, madam.
2:30. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Dr. Ajit sir, will you please share the list of some reading material that you would like us to read further?
Definitely.
Exactly. I would love, sir, Mishra sir, I would personally request you if we can share some slide today's session.
Yes.
Because you will be the true person to suggest the material, because
yes.
Of course.
Some books maybe.
Thank you, sir. We expect the material, sir, like yesterday's on mail, if it is, so that it is always with us.
Yes. I will.
Thanks, sir. Thanks.
Glad to see this such feedback from participants, sir. So it was really, I would also admit that this was the most interactive session of the workshop. you just kept the participants engaged throughout the session. So thank you very much for enlightening all the participants, including the organizers, and accepting our invitation, sir. Thank you very much.
It was indeed a pleasure, because every time I get an opportunity to interact with participants, I mean, really find that absolutely exhilarating. Okay, so I really thank IIT Tirupati, because it's doing a wonderful job by organizing such workshops or training programs where participants from different backgrounds with different purposes can come and return more enriched and informed. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
A raised hand. It's by, yes, Dr. Chandra Kumar.
Thank you, sir.
So no, it's only congratulating you, sir, and thanking you.
Thank you, sir, so much. Thank you, sir, because, you know, this is such an insightful session to again learn the ABC of the, you know, the mistakes we used to commit. It was such an insightful session that is going to be, you know, a teaching for a lifetime. Thank you so much for the insightful session.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Pankaj, now
So-
you can end the session.
Yes, please allow me to leave now.
Sure, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah.